Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. Of course, this is the team selection stream that we do every single week on the channel with my very good friend Jake. How you doing, mate? How you doing on this Wednesday evening? You doing good?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a Wednesday, does it, with the bank holiday?
No, it's thrown me a bit. I nearly said Thursday then, but then I remembered it's a Wednesday, so I'm like a day further out as well.
Oh wow, you're 2 days ahead of me.
Lad, I've got the concussion's still there. Like
Yeah, fair
it's
enough.
still lingering, so it's just like a little bit dodgy, a little bit dodgy. How was your game week 2 then, mate? I mean, we're gonna come to see your team, but give me a 1 word review of it.
Um, um,
Yeah, lad, I love that word. That's my favourite word,
oh,
really.
I've been on 5:30 starts this week. Apologies, I have just had a little nap, and I
Right.
think I'm still coming round. I've got to remember what actually happened. I feel like it might not be one word. It's definitely not one word, but I'll say it was a one-man show.
Mm, Okay, okay. One man
Most
show.
certainly.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. For me, I'd probably go with better than expected. Just, just about.
Really.
Yeah, just got there. I was looking at some interesting stuff. We've already got some channel members in the chat and some already regulars of the stream as well. A Turkey in a Bush, one of our channel members and moderators, that says, "Hi Tom, how's it going? I'm doing good. Hope you are too as well, mate." VJ's in the chat. Russ Morgan's in the chat as well. Do keep your questions in. Me and Jake will answer some of those throughout today's stream. Right, let's start off where obviously last week we didn't have it, but we're bringing it back. A favourite, a fan favourite from last season. It is, of course, going to be Bed Shitter of the Week. Now, if you are new to this stream, obviously I am aware that we've gained quite a few subscribers since the back end of last season. What this award is for a player that stunk in game week 2. Obviously, there's two men on screen right now, and Cuckoo and Garnacho as two potential bed shitters. But Jake, I'm going to ask you for your bed shitter of the week first. Who's it going to be?
Mine's actually a bit of a rogue one, and that's probably because it's a biased opinion. But I'm going to go for Pickford because I'm pretty sure he was a very highly chosen goalkeeper before the season started. Because he was he scored so many points for a very reasonable asking price, and I think it was one of those really where when they played the big sides, Everton would actually pull out the big points when people would be more keen to drop Pickford last season for maybe a lesser goalkeeper who would then go and concede against the lesser side. Meanwhile, Pickford was picking up double-digit hauls. So I think against a bit of a hot and cold Spurs side, I thought maybe the first game was a bit of a blip. I was still a bit wary of Everton, but I thought defensively they're very well known for being quite well astute at the back since Sean Dyche has had a bit of time with the club. And so I thought, yeah, fine, they might not be the most clinical of sides, but they'll still defend very well.
Yeah.
And Pickford, not only did he concede 4 goals, but one of them he gifted to Son. So it was a bit of a howler, and I think a lot of people will be in the same position as me because it's one of those really where I think we both agreed at the start of the season that having 2 goalkeepers from the same club might be the way to go, just to commit to them because at least one of them will play, and you just let it just happen in the background. Yeah. But I think if you've got Pickford and Jal Virginia, if that's how you say the substitute keeper's name, I do think it's the one goalkeeper where you're like, you can't see any points on the horizon.
No. Probably very, very limited points, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, when you are paying 5 million for Pickford to concede, the way that he did as well, and obviously being at fault for one of the goals, Everton defensively as well have been a little bit questionable at the start of this season, so it makes complete sense. I think if you're paying 4.5 million for him, you don't really care. You're not expecting too much. 5 million, I feel there's a little bit more expectation, to be honest. So I think that's a valid shout. I was basically torn between the two lads on screen. Obviously, Garnacho is the honourable mention because Jake didn't include him, but I just feel, 2 games back-to-back where he's came off the bench, so people this week probably would have been expecting him to start if they kept faith with him. Then, of course, obviously, it went down as a Garnacho goal to start off with, And then as obviously the VAR check kind of started to kick into gear, we saw that obviously it got taken off him. And then, of course, it was ruled out. And then that was it. So, you know, if you're a Garnacho owner, you probably went from 100 straight back down to 0. And then, you know, it's a little bit piss stinky, if you like, to be honest. But for me, got to be the bed shitter of the week. It is Christopher Nkunku. People are saying throughout the course of preseason, this guy can cover, of course, Cole Palmer. He's 6.5 million. He'll be doing really well. He's had a great preseason. His minutes are locked. He looks like a solid pick. I was one of those people that fell into that trap, unfortunately. And here we are now. But again, a benching. First game came off in the 57th minute as well. This game came on in the 82nd or 84th minute. So just all round terrible pick. He's now had a price decrease and probably going to see a second one before the game week starts again. So Christopher Nkunku is going to be my bed shitter of the week. Of course, we will get the poll going for you guys to obviously get your votes in for that one, and we will announce the winner at the end of today's show. Get your votes in, Jordan Pickford or Christopher Nkunku for bed shitter of the week for game week 2. Right, Jake, let's move on, mate, to talk about your team, because I feel this is where the interesting stuff's going to start, to be honest. Not with my team this week, but with yours. So talk me through it. I've got the wrong screen up. Brilliant. Great start. What a start. Go on, mate. Your team's now on screen. Talk me through what went well. You obviously went for the triple captain Erling Haaland, and it paid off massively.
Yeah, it did. I said this as we previewed the weekend's fixtures, that on the one hand, my argument for triple captaining so early on, like I like to use the analogy that it was like a referee giving a yellow card in the first 30 seconds of a game. It did feel illegal. I think someone commented that on your deadline stream, and it did. It felt a little bit taboo. I felt a bit naughty doing it, but I did it. And my argument for in the previous stream, I remember, was the fact that if you take out of the equation there being double game weeks that could, or even if they don't have like 2 green arrows on them, a player like Haaland, you're going to be licking your lips when they've got 2 games to accumulate the same score that, like I did this week, only had 1. If you take that out of the equation and you look at them on face value for each fixture for the 38-game season, this is the most mouthwatering. This is the tastiest one. This is the one where I was like, Haaland can bag here. Of course, the only situation I was kind of worried about was, like you might have put into my head, City scoring a couple quite quick goals. I mean, they did, but without Haaland being part of the mix. If they were 3-0 up at half time, there would have been that thought, Haaland's not scored here. This could be a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe it worked out perfectly for me. Him being on a hat-trick at half time, that might have kept him on. Who knows how that would have gone. But yeah, I think I also said he needs to at least get 2 goal contributions, or really a goal and 2 assists. He scored a hat-trick. I really can have no complaints. I still somehow managed to lose my head-to-head game.
91 points, loses head-to-head.
Literally. Against the lad that didn't have Haaland, I don't think.
He does have Haaland.
He does,
Just as him captain.
Yeah, but I think Cole Palmer ended up being the man that won it for him. So yeah, I can't be more happy with my decision to triple captain him. I've also gone a bit edgy I don't know about edgy.
Sorry, go on.
But I've gone a bit edgy. I went a bit edgy with Isak on the bench originally, and then I went Odegaard, and I played Hudson-Odoi, doubled up on the Forest, and it got me that extra point.
Yeah.
So I think I've run with that this week, because I've gone, you know what, I am going to commit to what I've said. I do think I should stick to the Forest players before they play Liverpool in game week 4. So I've not actually removed them yet. And to be honest, I think Gibbs White's going to see it out for a good few weeks, because he once again was the difference last week. A brilliant asset to have. I do think he's worth it. I think the 6.5 million might put people off, but he's just so consistent, and it seems like he's picked up where he left off. And Forest do seem to be creating chances now, and like having the ascendancy in the games where it's maybe a little bit more close than you'd imagine. So yeah, I was happy with that. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to look on the screen. Apologies, because I'm on my phone. But yeah, I feel like other than that, though, I think the reason why I didn't win my head-to-head was simply because the majority of my points, at least I would say 60% of my points, came from Haaland himself.
Yeah.
I think I got 91 overall, yeah, and he got me 51. Am I right?
Yeah, he got you 51, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, him, Gibbs White, that's the core of my team, really.
Mm-hmm.
Pickford really didn't help himself, but I think he somehow just smashed himself a point for saves, which is a little bit unbelievable, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, I can't really say too much. Happy that I benched Odegaard for Hudson-Odoi. It's the little wins in life. And I mean, like, it was going to be 1 or 2, and as we're going to come on to, for some reason, I've got a bit of a vendetta against Isak and Odegaard.
Yeah, it does seem that way, to be honest, mate. Just one thing I wanted to point out: Gibbs White numbers in the first game week were terrible. Second game week though, a lot better. So maybe it was just a one-off game blip, and he is back to his best. And obviously proved that with a 10-pointer as well. So yeah.
Yeah, the consistency was never. I was never expecting a week in week out performance, but I just remember last season, especially the second half of the season, having him in, just always in there. He might have those weeks where he get 2 points if he's lucky, but then there was still that consistency where at least once every 3 games you'd hit 5 or above.
Yeah. I think as well, something worth noting, you've gone from, I think it was 5.5 million rank to 1.5 million rank. So I think early doors, people sometimes get a little bit caught up in what rank they are, but it's so tight that it's just not worth really considering, I would say, for at least the first probably 3 to 4 game weeks, what rank you are, because everybody's so congested. One big player or one score from, just one individual could massively change it, to be honest. And, there's so much disparity between the ranks. So I think if you are maybe in, plus 2 million, plus 3 million, even back at 5 million, there is still very easily room for you to just claw this back slowly. And over the next few weeks, those gaps will start to, enlarge. But for these first few weeks, I wouldn't be too worried, to be honest. So,
yeah, I completely agree. I think if you're close enough, like similar to myself, if you're close to 100 points in one of the 10 weeks that we open this season, you will have a significant jump. I think. I think, like you say, as we head towards the midway point, that's when 100 pointers may not quite make that big a difference if you have been a little bit poor in the other game weeks. But yeah, I think, like we've gathered here, like my first week was a bit mid. This week it's double that. This week has been really good.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I was carried a little bit by Haaland, but I do stand by it now, and I've got the evidence to show it. I can actually hold my head up high and say this, and people can't actually disagree with it. I do feel like if you've had Haaland over Salah from the start of the season and you didn't triple captain him, I'm the prime example of why that was a mistake.
Yeah. I feel the people that did captain him, because other players scored quite... Like, I was looking at my teams compared to just Haaland drafts who captained him. I was very, very close and actually managed to beat quite a few of them as well. It's only the people that triple captained that really put a distance on me, like yourself this week. But other than that, everyone who just captained him, I feel the players that I had in my team kept me at pace with the Haaland captainers, so I'm not too far behind those.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's one of those really where you only get it once a season, of course, so everyone else has that still in their bank, and who knows how they could do, but you're going to be you're asking a lot if you're going to want, if you want to even match what Haaland did. Like, you are really going to be asking a lot to call the right game week, unless, of course, you are blessed with a double game week that is just too good to miss.
Yeah, 100%. But obviously we're going to get a lot less of them this season, so the probability of that happening, probably less so. And some of the other chips I feel are more valuable in a double game week than a triple captain chip. So yeah, I think you've made the right call here, mate, and it's paid off massively, so fair play.
Yeah, it's definitely the best I've ever done on a triple captain. Usually I'm lucky if I get, before, of course, course, the tripling of the points, I'm lucky to get double figures.
Yeah. Well, fair play, mate. Fair play. Let's move on to your team for game week 3. You already alluded to it there. You've obviously taken Isak and Odegaard out. You've brought Mohamed Salah in, and you've obviously brought Visser in as well. Talk me through those transfers and kind of how the team is lining up for this game week. Obviously, I've kind of guessed, but I imagine it wouldn't be too dissimilar from this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Salah one speaks for itself. It has really been the Salah and Haaland show this season, and Cole Palmer's also shown himself a little bit, as well as the regulars in defence getting decent clean sheets. Trent and Gabriel to mention. I did see actually the other day, I think it might have been one of your competitors. I'm not going to say any names because I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
But so someone definitely did a draft which included the likes of Palmer, Salah and Haaland. I think it had João Pedro up top. And you know what? It looked rather enticing. And I think I've just been inspired a little bit because I did originally have both Salah and Haaland and quite a weakened rest of my squad. And I think I just spoke myself out of it a little bit because I didn't want to waste all my money and I wanted to be able to fund it at a later date maybe. Or I think realistically, I thought I'd just swap Haaland straight out for Salah with the help of a couple of transfers. But the way things have gone, with Haaland getting 4 goals in his first 2 games, I do feel like it'd be a bit daft for me to take him out straight away. They're playing West Ham, who, of course, haven't really found themselves, well, they haven't had too much time to really find an identity for themselves with a win and a defeat. So that game could go either way, but Haaland can score in any game, win, lose or draw.
Yeah.
And Salah, as we know, he loves Manchester United. I mean, out of context, maybe not so much, but he does love scoring against them. And it just seemed like the right thing for me to do. I mean, Odegaard, he's a brilliant performer. I think he's Gibbs White for fantasy.
Yeah.
For fantasy only, not comparing the quality of the players, but for fantasy, he is a glorified Gibbs White because he does go hot and cold because of the position he plays. Other players will take the limelight more often than him, but when he does hit it, like Gibbs White might get a good haul, Odegaard will probably pip him on a good week. So I've just had to take the hit on him because Salah, of course, is going to score more points over the whole of the season, and against United, where he loves to score against them home or away, I feel like it's a good time to bring him in. And of course, Liverpool have a really good run after the United fixture. Yeah, so definitely. Even if it doesn't pay off, it will pay off in the long run, I believe. Hence why Jota stays in there for the time being. I think bringing Salah for Jota is just a bit of like, what's the word? Is it? But there's a saying. It's like shooting your nose to spite your face.
I know the saying you mean, but you completely butchered it. Yeah.
But anyway, I just don't want to you know what I mean, and I hope everyone else does.
Yeah.
If you do, you've definitely been watching us long enough to have understood our language. But and then the rest of the team kind of speaks for itself, I think. I mean, I have gone for the same formation as you. I think Brentford have got, like we've mentioned before, they've got a really good run in contrast to Fulham. Like whenever one of them's got a fairly difficult game, the other one's got a good game. This week, they've both got pretty fucking good games. So I think that speaks for itself, starting the front three as they are. I think the only change that I would have is I think I'm going to play Hudson-Odoi instead of Ben Brereton and Diaz. Kwanzaa and Bolly don't really have a look in at the moment. Kwanzaa might, I would be very surprised if he features at all after he looked like a precautionary knock. And Bolly was benched in the last game. So that would have been a bit of a rubbing my salt into my wounds, really, if I'd played Bolly in, because he came on right at the end, whilst the other centre-halves, Milinkovic included, who I had at the start of the season, getting the clean sheet instead. So those two won't see much more game time, if any, for me, I don't think. And I think in the future they will see the exit. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to make the most of the fact that I've got Forest players, that I've committed to them. I'm going to put my faith in them against Wolves, who look absolutely atrocious, especially defensively. And yeah, I'm just going to go gung-ho for it. Forest and Liverpool, really, with with the big Viking up top, and then the two swap boys up top, Muniz and Wisa. I think if I keep them in for the foreseeable, they'll probably rotate with one another. But yeah, this game week their fixtures are just too good to bench.
Yeah, just I'm looking at next week. Who are you planning to transfer? Just I'm looking at it. Southampton have got United, Forest have got Liverpool, and Brentford have City.
Well, Brentford one wouldn't be the transfer because, like I said, I think that's when Muniz would be the key guy to play. So Wissa would be on my bench. I'm just sorry about the fact that I keep having to look away.
It's a nice side angle, really. Getting the jawline in, yeah?
Did you say Southampton United?
Yeah, Southampton are playing United. I mean, that's not the worst fixture
Well,
in the
Ben
world.
Brereton scored for Sheffield United against United last season, so it's not the end of the world there. But yeah, I think there's a good chance it will see the end to Hudson-Odoi, I think. But you never know. I might just go for it, considering the fact that I've just used both of my transfers up.
Would you be tempted with maybe somebody like Rodgers from Aston Villa? They've got Everton, Wolves, Ipswich after that.
Possibly. I also want to see how Chelsea do this week, because I mean, I can't just jump on Madueke, for example, because he scored a hat trick. I think we spoke about that briefly the other day. But he would be he looks like he's taken all that Nkunku shine pre-match, and he's going to run with it himself.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye out on, because I believe he's 6.4 million. So should Forest go on a bit of a dull run, he's actually cheaper. And I mean, if there's a price rise over the next few weeks, he'll at least match Gibbs White. So it gives me a couple of weeks to give that a little bit of a look. But yeah, for the time being, I'm not too sure. I'll meet that when it comes to it. But it's most likely going to be Hudson-Odoi that would leave, because I feel like my defensive three is set as it is. Is it Arsenal Spurs in game week 4? Is it?
It's in game week 4. Yeah, Arsenal Spurs.
Well, that's also a potential transfer. Maybe taking Kwanzaa or Bolly out then, but yeah, it'll be Hudson-Odoi out for someone like a Madueke if I can afford that. I think I've got a couple of $1 I'm saying this off the top of my head, but I'm realizing as I speak it wouldn't be Hudson-Odoi for him, because that would not work. But yeah, or it'd be Bolly or Kwanzaa out for a fairly relatively cheap defender, just to slot in probably for one of the Spurs or Arsenal lads.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then again, it's one of those, mate. We say this because you might be reluctant to play Ped and Gabriel. That could be 0-0. It'd be one of those typical games you bench one of them and it finishes bloody 0-0.
If you look historically, it's been a game that has always had goals. But at the same time, Arsenal defensively, I'm never going to bench Saliba this season. No. Even against City, I'm not going to bench him because I think it'll be tight and cagey. And they just...
Even City away?
Even City away, I feel like they know how to defend.
What about Liverpool away?
Even still...
To be fair, though, they'll probably go and score at Anfield.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, I think Arsenal, I'm very happy to play any of their defenders against anyone this season.
Yeah. No, I understand that completely. Who's at home in that game?
I believe it's City. They're at the home.
No, the North London derby.
It's at Spurs first.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So there's the 0-0 inbound.
Sorted. Who are you captaining?
We'll meet that when we come to it. Who am I captaining?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Salah,
I'm going to go Salah over Haaland.
Funnily enough, mate, I think I'm going to go Salah over Wissa.
Okay.
I was actually tempted by Wissa because he's looked bright. He scored in the first game week. It looks like Ivan Toney's not going to play for Brentford again. And I think he's pretty much set himself up top. So yeah, I think that Brentford against Southampton, I can just see Wissa scoring.
I can see a lovely 0-0.
Yeah, and not Bolly playing, but at least I've got Ben Brereton point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I think Ben Brereton's going to actually see his arse on the bench. To be honest, I think it's going to be double Liverpool and double Forest in that midfield.
Okay, all right. Any final thoughts for your team?
No, I think this week it looks good. I think you've given me some good food for thought for next week. What I want to do there, but yeah, like I say, it's probably one of those that you've put on my bench. Albeit Hudson Odoi maybe starts for me this week. I think it is one of those three that will see the exit door next week if I were to make a transfer.
Okay. All right, sweet. Okay, wonderful stuff. Hopefully it works out, mate. Another positive week and maybe a green arrow on the way. Right, let's move on to my team. Obviously, it's not going to be as glamorous as Jake's. There is no triple captain for my team. There's not even the big Norwegian fraud up front, is there, with his hat trick? But despite that, we still managed to pick up 72 points this week, and I actually beat my game week 1 score by a single point. Now, there was a slight rank decrease. I think we fell around 600,000. But like I said, in the grand scheme of things, this early on in the season, falling around that is not as big a deal because you can very easily claw it back. I think going into those games... Go on, look at him.
FPL Tom Reserves has gone ahead of FPL Tom.
By you're 2 points ahead. 2 points ahead. Just chill yourself. All right. But
you are right though. That the fact that you've got 71 and I've got 72 and I've got 90. It's fully that triple captain, isn't it? If I had captained, it would have been a point or two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the people that have just had Haaland and captained him this week and didn't have the right kind of cheap midfielders, the like of Emil Smith-Rowe pulled people out and pulled him away. And some people had like Gordon and Emil Smith-Rowe and it really pulled them away and stuff like that. But I think this week we kind of just I'd probably say we just fell behind. But overall, it's not the worst in the world, to be honest, mate. It's not the worst in the world. At all. Like, I always knew this week was going to be the week where I was probably going to get a red arrow. Haaland was probably going to get a couple of attacking returns. And looking at the ranks prior to him getting the hat-trick, I was ahead. And that was with Salah still to play. Now, if he obviously did go on to get the hat-trick, it is what it is. That's the end of it. But I think the team's set up in a really nice position because Haaland's now had his big game where he was the clear captain and arguably, you know, in your case, a triple captain threat. He's had that game. That game's out the way. Now, I feel like everybody is going to be wanting to jump on, of course, Mohamed Salah with this Liverpool fixture run coming up for it. And I feel I'm already in that position. And the beauty of my squad as well is I can obviously go and get people like Cole Palmer this week who, you know, a lot of people ruled out. I don't think we really spoke about him as an option in any of the streams we did pre-season. I think he maybe entered like one wildcard video I did, but other than that, I've not really seen his name mentioned. Now he's on the forefront of everybody's mind because we've been reminded this guy is actually just phenomenal. He's just too good at football. Yeah, he is good. And I can very easily get him where some people and some teams this week are going to struggle to get him. And that was always the appeal.
That's a good point. Like, if I want to improve my team arguably now, after this game week, I'm going to have to take a talent out to get a talent in.
Yeah.
Whereas you can actually tweak it and improve a player with the money that you've got. So I do get that. But I think the one thing with Palmer, I'd say, it's similar to Madueke. Of course, he's got the whole of last season to defend him and to tell me to shut the fuck up. But I would say, like, with the way that this transfer window is, you know, with how Chelsea's transfer strategy has been ever since Todd Bowley signed, I would still be a little bit apprehensive, maybe, just because the Wolves game could just be one of those big blips. It could be the change of something, and he could go absolutely mad. And I think if you're going to bring a player in, I do think you should be having Cole Palmer now, rather than taking the risk on someone like Madueke, let's say, because I think there is so much rotation and stuff now. There's so much quality in that side that Maresca's going to have to find the team that gels. And I believe every team will have Cole Palmer in, whether it has Madueke or Nkunku or Felix or Neto. It's crazy the amount of players you can just write out. You've even got Jackson and Tony that could be happening. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. I've definitely heard the rumours.
Yeah, I've seen Osserman as well is apparently rumoured. So
It's insane, but I do feel like come rain or shine, they could sign everyone on Noah's Ark. Cole Palmer will still play.
yeah,
So I do get that. I do get that. That would be something you'd be tempted to do after seeing him haul in such considerable fashion against Wolves. However, it could be a blip because Wolves looked appalling.
it could be. It could be.
So I think it's just one of those really where that's why I'm not jumping on the Cole Palmer train or even the Chelsea train at the moment because he was someone I considered, but then I just thought, screw it, I'm going to go for Salah. I feel like there'll be more consistency in the side for Salah to perform. Nothing against Palmer at all. I think he will still be consistent. It's just whether the rest of the team are. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But I do think if Chelsea, with the fixtures they've got, if you take that gamble and it works, it could work really, really well.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, this is how the team is looking for this week. I'll flip it on to how it's looking for next week. Just make sure I'll put you back on screen. There we go.
Triple captain and Kunku.
No, I haven't. So I've already made one transfer. That was just to kind of get ahead of price changes, and Cuckoo was dropping, Rodgers was rising. So I've basically bit the bullet there, gone with the early transfer. It's not something I normally recommend, but I'm expecting Nkunku to probably drop again before the deadline, to be honest. And obviously, I think Rodgers is looking really, really good at 5 million.
He looks like some player, man.
For 5 million, it feels a little bit like we've got a player that should be valued the same as Leon Bailey, but he's not, and we've got him at 1.5 million cheaper. I feel when we get these players, we have to take full advantage of them and getting in early with this strong Villa run. Like I could realistically see this guy being in the team for the foreseeable because of how cheap he is. So I'm very happy to have him with like strong fixtures coming up. And the one player I am looking to replace, barring any kind of team news, is going to be Son. And it will be for Palmer. Now, obviously, I know Son's just come off the back of the brace, but it is Newcastle away, and then it's obviously Arsenal at home. Now, we very easily could go and get an attacking return in both of those games, but I feel it's worth taking that gamble on. Like this is the thing I have to do with not having Haaland. With these other premiums, when they've got more difficult games, I have to be a little bit risky and take a gamble and play the fixtures rather than just kind of stick out.
Yeah, but it's not even necessarily a risk, really. Like it would be heavy if Son did outscore someone like Palmer. But when you look at those Chelsea fixtures, it seems when you've got that opportunity, I do agree with why you'd say it would be a bit crazy not to at least jump for it.
Yeah.
You'd rather kick yourself that Son's outperformed Palmer and you've got Palmer rather than you've played Son. They've lost 6-0 against Newcastle. They've drawn 0-0 with Arsenal. Meanwhile, Palmer's he's just got everyone in his pocket.
Yeah, 100%. We're getting a few questions about Kwanzaa, and obviously he's in both of our teams. I think for me, it's probably looking likely that Kwanzaa is going to drop again in price to 4.3. But it realistically means if you've got no extra budget in the bank, you're going to just be picking up a 4 million defender. Now, there aren't a plethora of quality 4 million defenders for me that are worth a transfer. Like, it's just not worth wasting time. Now, I know people are speaking about, I think it's Nedkovic in the chat as well for Aston Villa, who came on for Matty Cash. It looks like Matty Cash could be out for up to a month. Again, though, if Villa don't sign a backup right back at 4 million, he could be a decent shout with their good fixtures coming up. But at the same time, let's wait all the way up until the deadline for the window to close. Otherwise, they could very easily, right before the deadline, go, right, we're going to bring in a right back. That's that 4 million dream screwed over. He probably would be the one that I would be looking maybe at. But again,
I mean, and also Konza can always move over there, can't he? So it's not guaranteed, but he did have a fairly decent game, I thought, against Arsenal.
That's what I mean.
But the thing is, having someone like Konza, who, at the moment, the two of us have got pretty much 99% the same back three that we're going to possibly have for at least for the next 10 game weeks, let's say.
Oh, I doubt
that. Okay. Well, anyway. The point is, Kwanzaa's not going to be someone that you're going to want to bring in anyway. And so it's not really something that we're going to have to worry about too much. And there is a high chance that he's going to play games eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an injury away, or just a bit of rotation, or when Champions League happens, away from Kwanzaa's price going straight back up when he plays against a home side, plays a home fixture against a side that Slot might want to rest, the likes of Canate in.
No, yeah, I think some people are saying, like, you know, obviously he's probably not going to feature soon, and we still don't know. You never know what a manager's thinking, to be honest. But for me, I think if you can only replace him with a 4 million defender, not worth thinking about. If you've got the budget to go to a 4.5, I think that's a little bit different, because there are really good options that could score quite well over the next few weeks. But if you're replacing him with a 4, it's probably going to be realistically somebody like Harwood Bellis, or you're taking another gamble with Nedkovic. Again, just doesn't seem like it's worth a transfer for me when there are players that you could be focusing on, the likes of Rodgers, or let's say, you know, Madueke continues to perform over this good run, that you want to get in early and kind of now, rather than just focusing on these kind of, if you like, poxy 4 million defenders that aren't going to be the big differences come the end of the season.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, what do you think about those two transfers then? That I've already done one, but obviously the Palmer one's going to be the second one. What do you think about those two
I think it is. I understand why you're making that change. The only thing is, I think it's a similar position to me. Like, I was reluctant to take Haaland straight out. I did plan originally. I do feel like I planned to take him out for Salah, so that I would still have funds to really spread across my team. But then I got reluctant after seeing him score a hat-trick. Granted, though, Son's goals, I don't think Son's goals necessarily, I think they can be a little bit misleading, and I think the fixtures he's got are going to be tough.
Yeah.
Palmer's fixtures are considerably more straightforward. And like I say, the goals he scored, he was gifted one by Pickford, and the second one wasn't anything to write home about. He just finished off a really good run from his centre-half. So I'm not criticising him, but I'm saying that I don't think he really set the world alight against Everton. I just think he was kind of gifted it.
Yeah.
So I feel like Haaland scoring a hat-trick, yeah, fine, you might be a bit wary of taking him out. But Son scoring twice, this day and age, say like he's ancient now.
Yeah.
He doesn't tend to get that big a haul on a regular basis.
No, and I think the thing as well with Son is he's only, I think, around 9.5, maybe he's gone up to 10% owned. So even if I do miss out on his points, he's not going to be one of those mega people that's a rank killer. You know what I mean? So
what's Palmer?
Interesting. I know he's been brought in by a lot of people this week, and he probably is going to be quite highly owned, I imagine. Let's just count, because he was quite highly owned by the casuals. He's currently at 38.8% owned. So I reckon by deadline he'll probably be up to about 40% owned. Is he second? Is Salah top, or is he top, or what? Let me have a look for midfielders. Give me a second. I think he might be more owned than he's more owned than Salah. Salah's at 37.5, Palmer's at 38.8.
Is he top then? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Saka in third with 34.1.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It really is. Yeah. The Newcastle one just seems too obvious. I think. So you've gone double Newcastle, and I completely understand why. But at the same time, surely they can't get battered again.
Why not? Why not, lad?
Because it's not like they're completely different sides in quality.
No.
But for some reason, Spurs do just go to St James's Park and quiver.
Yeah, they just shit bed, literally.
Yeah.
Spurs could be one of the candidates for next week.
Oh mate, yeah. If Sonsonar stays in that team, Pep Porro might be it'll be that meme, won't it, with all the swords pointing to him. It'll be Pep Porro.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
What are you doing with your goalkeeper?
Oh, I'm leaving it. You know me. Just leaving it.
Could be a blessing in disguise. Who knows?
Well, yeah, maybe like he Cole Palmer absolutely peppers him with shots before putting in his 8 for the day. But yeah, you know my thoughts on goalkeeper transfers.
He's left, hasn't he? Oh no, it's Johnson.
That's Johnson.
It's Johnson.
That's Johnson. Yeah.
That's what I was actually alluding to. But yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Who's on the bench? Is that Verbruggen or not?
No, that's the backup Brentford goalkeeper. So he's never going to see any minutes, is he?
What made you go for Henderson over Flecken?
I think it was just more down to the fact that Crystal Palace last year were one of the best teams for XG conceded. I didn't expect them to sell Anderson, and then they're probably going to sell Gahey at some point as well. I didn't expect that from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've not looked great. So that one could be a bit of a, but I'm not going to change my goalkeeper realistically.
No, you can save it for a wild card.
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Like he's playing games. He will pick up probably a clean sheet at some point.
He'll get some save points, you'd imagine, won't he?
Yeah, he's against Chelsea. You would imagine he hopefully gets a couple save points. The right move probably would have been Flecken from the start because he's outscored Henderson already. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's probably by about 4 points he's outscored him over 2. It's just like so minor that it's nothing to really worry about, in my opinion. Just it's very minuscule.
Fair enough.
I think the only other transfer I've got kind of lined up in future weeks is going to be Ped Porro out for Andy Robertson. I thought he looked absolutely brilliant against Brentford.
Yeah, he gets a lot. He got a lot of space. I thought of that when he had that shot save. I was like, bloody Tom was talking about him having an attacking return. But,
he's very high on the old Fantasy Football Hub projected points model as well. To look at.
It might just be one of those really where Trent's actually. He's going under the radar because Trent is that model, isn't he? He is what we go by. He's almost what we play through. But he doesn't make those lung bursting runs quite as much because he's usually the provider.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Robertson, I completely get that. He was getting forward so much more than I realised he did.
Yeah. You've obviously got a really good run for fixtures as well, and as we'll come on to look at, decent clean sheet data as well to back that up. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this weekend goes, though.
Yeah.
It all goes out the window really in those kinds of games, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely so. Right, let's move on to.
Who have you captained, by the way, Salah?
Yeah, I've captained Salah, but I could be tempted with Palmer.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, let's move on to the Game Week 3 projected goals and clean sheets. Once me and Jake have gone through all this good stuff, we will answer your questions before we wrap up around about 8 o'clock-ish. This is the projected goals, like I said, and clean sheet data from Rob T FPL. We used him in the Euros. He was a cheat code, to be honest. It seemed like most weeks this was pretty accurate. Across the Premier League as well, it definitely helped a few people that were and ahhing last week about playing Arsenal defenders. I was very adamant you should play them. They've got decent clean sheet data. You should go for it. They came away with a clean sheet. So again, as you can see, Arsenal and City being the top 2 teams for clean sheets and projected goals. I don't think that's kind of really surprising. Maybe the Arsenal one a little bit interesting with how Brighton have started the season with 2 games, 2 wins, but I don't feel like Brighton have played any big teams yet, and this is probably going to be their first test.
God, you've made a few people in that chat quake in their boots there.
It's true.
What did he just say?
It's true, though. It's true.
They've not played any top half teams. I can't say that. We're playing United on Sunday.
Oh, you idiot. I don't support anyone in the Prem, so I'm fine. I can get away with murder. You, on the other hand, are going to get
you support someone that's going down, aren't you?
Yeah, dicked 4-1 by Lincoln. It's not fun, is it?
I'm a little bit surprised by the Arsenal one, but at the same time, I think you are also right in saying that Arsenal do seem to have got their defence sorted.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brighton may just find it. They've been a joy to watch again. They seem to have got their mojo back under this new manager. But I do feel like they're going to find it very tough against Arsenal. I don't think it's going to be one of those games where Brighton cause an upset, which they were they became quite accustomed to over the last few seasons. I think they actually beat Arsenal as well at one point at their ground. So, I just don't see it this time. I think it could be quite a tough game for Brighton. It could be quite a comfortable, yet again, 2-0 win for Arsenal.
Do you think maybe that I'm overlooking Saka this week with the armband? He's done quite well at the start of the season. 3 attacking returns in 2 games.
Yeah, he has. I think the only issue is, as much as I think Arsenal will win, and as much as I think it could be quite a comfortable win, and I say 2-0, for example, if I had to pluck a score from the air, I don't see. I'm not saying this to say that I'm making this prediction and stuff, and I'm going to put money on it. but I don't see Saka getting a double-digit haul.
Okay.
He could, well, I mean, he could score, he could assist, but I don't see him having the projected points as much as the likes of Palmer or Salah or even Haaland do. I'd say he's probably in a similar bit to Haaland. I think Haaland's got a fairly tough fixture to judge, with it being away to West Ham. Yeah, with Saka, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a goal contribution, but I just feel like the likes of Palmer and Salah, the chances of a goal contribution and multiple goal contributions is quite high.
Yeah. Next up, I want to talk about Aston Villa and Brentford. Obviously, we'll start with Brentford first. Quite good projected goal numbers. Does that make you feel a little bit more confident in your Vissa transfer this week?
It does, and the captain's armband is getting a bit loose on Salah's shirt. Yeah, I am intrigued by Vissa, but I think I'm going to stick to the Salah captain because I think that's keeping me sensible to some extent. Because I'm reluctant to captain Vissa into it for it to go wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, if you captain Vissa and it goes well, you jump up even more. But even having him in is going to be a differential, I feel.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably a differential enough. But you know what I'm like. 5 minutes before the deadline, I might just fucking go for it. Yeah, we'll see. But I think it is between Vissa and Salah. If Haaland comes back with another hat trick, I won't be disappointed because I don't think I've really ever even considered him for the captain's armband this week.
Yeah. It's looking good for Chelsea and Liverpool as well for projected goals. So obviously this kind of is where my split is. Do I slightly favour the more goals in the Chelsea game with the Palmer armband, or do I go for Salah this week?
Does Chiesa, this looking like it's done, does that put Salah's minutes at risk if they're comfortably winning?
Well, he plays on the left, doesn't he?
No, he plays. Well, I think he's a replacement. Not a replacement. Yeah, I think he's an understudy for Salah. You know.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because we've already got Gakpo and Diaz and Nunes that are all quite good on the left. I'd be surprised if he was yet another predominantly left-sided attacker.
Unless you do plan on selling Darwin to Arsenal.
As much as it pains me to say it, I think he'd be a fantastic fit for them.
Yeah. Create plenty of XG for them. No goals though, so I won't worry about that bit.
Yeah.
And then the final fixture, the bookies really can't call this one. 1.85 projected goals for both, 16% chance of a clean sheet for both. It is that Newcastle Spurs game on Sunday. They really don't know how to call it, and I feel that's probably why I am just going to keep Anthony Gordon, Isak and Porro in the side, because if the bookmakers haven't got a clue, they're expecting goals, they're not really expecting clean sheets, and you feel like all of those players could be involved in at least a goal in this game.
Yeah, and also like when it's that closely contested with statistics and what bookies would suggest, I think you've got to then favour the home side, don't you?
Yeah, you probably give that slight kind of. I think there's always that thing, isn't there, where a home team has an advantage, but you can't really see it in terms of data. It's more like the psychological kind of standpoints of it. You obviously at a familiar place, you're obviously meeting the same people, you know the crowd are going to be with you. It's all those kind of things that will make up a psychological difference rather than a percentage difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Right, I hope this is the right one. It is the right one. It is the Fantasy Football Hub Predictor Tool. If you want to go and check out their website, they are still currently running the 50% off sale. Link down in the description. This is over the next 5 game weeks, and as we can see, Haaland is interestingly top, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would be Mohamed Salah with the strong Liverpool fixtures coming up, but the algorithm is favouring Erling Haaland. But you know what, Jake? It's looking very good for you, mate, with both of those big boys at the top for projected points.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad, is it? It's really not. It'll be interesting to see how that prevails. I think you have then got to picture the fact that I might have the top 2, but you've got Palmer, Isak, Gordon. You've probably got 4 of the remainders, and I don't have any.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is just one of those things. You're spreading it out a lot more, whereas I've got the main 2. You'd say on paper that looks quite promising for me, for sure. I think the fixtures look quite kind for both the players, especially for Liverpool. I know Haaland probably has that little edge now that he's just smashed a hat trick in.
Yeah.
That always will have a part to play in the predicted points, especially when you're in a little bit of a purple patch, and Haaland always seems to be in a purple patch. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that prevails. But I mean, I think it just goes to show how close it is, and it is quite tough to call who's going to score more, who's going to get more points overall.
Yeah, it looks like as well my decision is being backed up with the projected points model as well, going for Palmer over Son for the next few weeks. So that gives me a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah, when it's only 5.5 million and you don't have Haaland, I feel like it is the sensible thing to upgrade from Son to Palmer.
Yeah, yeah. A player we've not really spoke about is Ollie Watkins. Now, for me, I'm not quite keen on him, to be honest. I think the early substitutions that he's been seeing have just put me off going near him, to be honest. He's been coming off in around the 60th minute for Duran, and it seems like Emery is giving Duran a little bit more trust, especially when they're still needing a goal in a game as well. So that, for me, paying 9 million for Watkins, I'd want him to see out 90 minutes. The fact that he's coming off around 60, 70, I just don't think you're getting the value for him there.
I think he's still being warmed back into it after playing quite a long Euros. I think he's still getting eased back into the team. I do feel like he will play 90 minutes eventually, but by the time he does, Champions League will have hit. So it is definitely not a risk worth taking. I think that Arsenal chance he had was one of the worst misses I've seen him do.
Yeah.
So he's still a little bit raw, I think, from the summer. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if he was closer to 7.5 mil, you might be keen to take that gamble. But for 9 million, you want someone that's ready to hit the ground running. I think Havertz is a much better shout, and he's cheaper.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, we spoke about Robertson and Trent, and interestingly, the projected points does have Robertson
ahead of Trent,
slightly edging it over Trent. So maybe it is worth that gamble of going for the differential option and saving yourself $1 million.
Well, I mean that's the thing, really. I think if they're both the same price, you go for Trent, because really, I don't understand where they've seen Robertson getting more points. But then again, I doubted it, and Robertson probably had the better chance against Brentford. So
yeah,
who am I to judge? But yeah, when you consider the price difference, that's a big $1 million you're saving there, especially when you consider all the other defenders being cheaper than that, or at least around Robertson's price. I don't think that's a terrible idea. But I just feel like if you've got the money, you'd still go for Trent.
Yeah.
But if you don't, Robertson's a very viable alternative.
Yeah, 100%.
Just realised, just looking on my telly, just how close my head is. My head is. So apologies for that.
Hey, everyone's getting a nice view, lad. It's all good. It's all good, mate. It's all good. Right, let's answer some of your guys' questions before we finish up. Jake is a very, very hungry boy, so we'll answer as many questions as we can. There will be a stream on Friday where I'll be running through, of course, all the key data you need for the weekend and answering all of your questions. And again, I will be live for a 3-hour deadline stream over on Saturday morning, so make sure you're hitting that.
No Friday games this week.
No Friday games this week. There is in the Championship though, so for those playing EFL Fantasy, be warned, deadline for that is on Friday. My team selection video will be out tomorrow morning. So yeah,
is Luke McGee going to get in there?
Luke McGee is not getting in there, mate. You're one of the looking at the data.
3 clean sheets and a penalty save.
Looking at the data, lad, it looks like it could be a bad week for Tranmere. I can't lie.
Who have they got?
Someone away, and they're quite fancied away. This other team's quite heavily backed by the bookmakers to do quite well this week. So not the best. But right, let's answer your guys' questions. Bailey or Eze for Nkuku? Who would you pick if you had to pick between the two?
I would go for Bailey. They've got a good run of fixtures, and I feel like he's going to play the majority of the games, and he's looked quite sharp.
Yeah, his per 90 data as well from last season was pretty good, to be honest. I think the only thing with Eze is he's been super, super unfortunate. But I remember being sat here pretty much probably about a year ago, and we were saying the same thing. I had Eze in my team, and I was going, oh, he's so unlucky. He's just not getting the chances, and it's just not falling for him. Maybe without Elise there, he's just not as good as we think he is, and maybe he needs better
They've had a
players
big
around
chunk
him.
of their side taken out as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
That is going to affect them, and it might just take him a few weeks.
You can tell Mateta's not at the same levels as well, so he's obviously creating these opportunities for other players, but they're just not taking them. So
They all slapped yesterday. I can't remember who it was. It was probably someone in
it
the
was
championship.
Norwich they slapped yesterday.
They all did well yesterday. I know Mateta got, I think, 2 goals and an assist or something.
So maybe that was the catalyst. Maybe that's what they needed, just to go against the lesser opponent, get their confidence up, and maybe this weekend against Chelsea, they could turn it on a little bit.
Yeah, I still think they're a very good team even without Anderson. I think it'd be interesting to see how that Riyad does. He looks like a young defender who I've seen grow quite well on FIFA.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know anything about him in real life. So that's a big step up for him, a big set of shoes to fill. Not that I know his shoe size. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I think as much as they've lost Elise and Anderson and their captain being in talks to be lured away from the club, I do feel like the manager is a very good manager. And I feel like they just need a little bit of time to settle down again and reunite the family that they've got together.
Yeah, 100% agree with that one. A Turkey in a Bush says, Tom, do you like Kwanzaa and Gordon out for Gabriel and Rogers in?
Oh yeah,
I'm a fan of that, mate. It is pretty saucy. It's a pretty saucy move, that. So yeah, I'd probably do that move. Next question: Gavardio and Isak, or Ruben Diaz and Watkins?
Oh, Gavardio and Isak, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think I would as well with that one. Konza or Digne to replace Harwood Bellis? Who would you select?
It's a tricky one. I would probably go for Konza because Digne's got Matson as competition.
Yeah. I think when both games where Matson's come off the bench, I can't believe they've not started playing him already. He's looked fantastic. He's looked really good both times he's come off the bench. So I think it's only a matter of time before he is the starting left back. Maybe.
I mean, like you mentioned before, though, Tom, I feel like that whatever his name is, the young right back, could be someone to keep an eye on. Before, especially if the transfer window shuts and they don't get a backup right back. I think he could be a very, very good shout for someone that's cheap.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking to replace Harwood Bellis already. You're saving more money on someone that could actually play a decent run of games.
Yeah, 100%. Trent or Lewis this weekend to play or bench? So who would you bench out of Trent or Lewis if you had to bench one?
Lewis.
Rico Lewis. So he's away at West.
Right.
Away at West Ham.
I'd probably bench Lewis.
Ooh. Did you?
Because with Trent, at least Trent will play the full game, and I'm not saying Lewis won't, but there's so much option, isn't there? Whereas Trent's pretty much got his position sorted. He'll only come off if they're comfortably winning, and Connor Bradley might come on, but that could actually work in your favour as well, because if they're a couple of goals up, having conceded, it saves the clean sheet.
Yeah, I'd be tempted with a gamble on Lewis. You know. Some of the positions he was getting in. Did you see the chance he missed at the weekend?
Where he hit the bar?
He was just in the middle of the box. Like, he's just...
A terrible miss.
It's a terrible miss, but he's just playing like in a ridiculous position. And I feel one of these weeks...
He just looked good.
He's going to come away with a mega haul. Again, though, there is that gamble of whether or not Pep Roulette strikes and he's benched. You know what I mean?
I also feel like if you've got Trent in your team, you should not be benching him at all.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Who should I bench? Bruno Fernandes or Chris Wood?
I think I'd bench Bruno.
He doesn't have a good game against you. He always seems to lose his head a little bit.
Yeah, Chris Wood. I think it's his last game to shine. Really, I think this is the big game where it's make or break for Forest. I think if they win this convincingly, I might be tempted to hold on to those assets for a little bit longer. And I know I've got Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi, but Chris Wood has also got himself a goal this season. So I think if you've got a Forest asset, you've got them for the first 3 games. So I think you should make the most of it. Because you're probably going to be less. If you're debating not playing Chris Wood this week, you're going to be less tempted to play him next week.
Yeah, agreed. Bought Visser ahead of their match against Southampton. Thoughts? I mean, you're probably the right man for this, aren't you? Because a fellow Visser owner.
What's his name?
Jamie Hayes, one of our channel moderators.
Oh, Jamie Hayes. Oh, our Jamie.
Yeah, our Jamie.
Well, Jamie, I think that if you captain him, I will.
I look forward to seeing you both in my stream on Saturday morning with your Visser captains then.
No, I'll double down on that, Jamie. If you captain him, I will.
Nice. Right, we'll do this as the final 2 questions and then we'll wrap it up there so Jake can go and get some food. But like I said, I'll be live on Friday. And of course, I will be live for the deadline as well. There will be a video dropping tonight, my team selection. And of course, there will be an EFL fantasy team selection out tomorrow morning. Second to last question. Would you keep Bruno if you had him?
It depends who else you've got, I think. I think if you've got Salah or Haaland, which I'd imagine you'd have one of them, then I don't think it's the worst thing to have him just for a couple more weeks and see how things go. Maybe accumulate more transfers to make, because then you can do a little bit of a refresh for your team, including withdrawing him. But if you haven't got Palmer or Salah, then I probably would be looking, or even Saka maybe, and you've got someone like Bruno, I think I would be tempted to move to shift him. But I don't think I'd rush into it. I really don't. I think he's that type of player that can just get a goal or assist every single game he plays.
Yeah.
I know Liverpool is a tricky fixture, but like I said, it all goes out the window in a game like that. They're at home. Who's to say he doesn't get a nice little haul? So I would say hold on to him.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well. He's probably been super unfortunate not to have come away with an attacking return so far this season. And if you're selling him this week, they've got Southampton away next week. What's to stop?
They won 9-0 there last time, didn't they?
What's to stop him going and putting a couple in that game or picking up, a mega haul off the back of that? I think I'd give it up until the Southampton game. If he blanks after that, then I would be looking to remove him.
Yeah, and you'll have accumulated some good transfers there if that's the player you're looking to take out and you haven't.
I feel by then as well, you've had 4 game weeks worth of data. You probably have a good understanding of who the key players are going to be this season.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Let's have a look at Bedshitter of the Week poll and then we'll wrap it up there, guys. I think it's pretty much a landslide on this one, to be honest. 70% of the vote has gone for Christopher and Cuckoo, so congratulations to him for winning Bedshitter of the Week for Game Week 2. Me and Jake will be back for next week's stream. Actually, it's done it. It's given 69%. YouTube have taken their 1%.
Hey!
There they are. They're back. They've taken their 1%. Like I said, there will be a stream on Friday and, of course, on Saturday. But thank you very much from me, and I'm guessing from you, Jake.
Yeah, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.